Hello everybody. These finally arrived from Germany this morning, and so I am so very excited. As I said, I'm not often very excited, but at the moment I am very excited because I will put Lisa's video below. There's a whole rigmarole about this particular English edition, which has been produced by AGM. Potentially, US Games is trying to block the sale of this one from the UK and in the UK and in the US. So this arrived as well, but I'm going to put this aside for now. This is the newly reworked images. That's apparently is the most accurate or the closest to the original painting as it exists today. And copyright here, Ordo Templi Orientis, the OTO, who owns the images. Unfortunately, they're not available in English, again, because of US Games. So I am going to try very hard not to go into a rant about US Games because I would like to focus on this. So first of all, I am going to make a comparison video between this, an AGM edition from 1993, and the original Waite Smith by what most people have attributed to US Games, but I do not believe it's actually by US Games. It's the one with the lilies and roses back and with that particular box. I'll do that. I'll make that video after this. So now I just want to go through this particular edition here, and we'll talk about where we can, because it's no longer available on their website due to those, hula baloo, whatever is happening in the background there, which I will try not to comment on, but at least not now. But I will show this to you anyway because I know this is available in the market, and I find it really quite sinful for us not to be able to have access to this. And I'm not quite sure whether you can still email them, and or you can email me and then I'll pass you an email address that I have, or whether, what's the story there with selling, whether they're banned from advertising but they're allowed to sell or what, I'm not sure. But I feel very strongly in showing this anyway, even though at the moment things are a little bit weird with regards to as to how you can acquire the English version. And if you can't acquire the English version, I feel that the German version is probably worth your while as well, because the quality of the images are very much like the vintage editions that you can see on eBay selling for a ridiculous amount of money. And so this is the box, and the booklet is by Rachel Pollack, and so both the English and the German editions by Rachel Pollack. So it has that sort of nice glossy for the photo, this area here, and then part of this is very, very matte. The cardstock's a little thinnish, it feels a little thin, but the lamination is wonderful because it's very matte and it is smooth enough against each other, but it has that very distinct matte, almost, it feels almost like it's non-laminated, but it is actually laminated. It has that sort of lovely, just the right amount of friction. Sorry, my hand's a little dry. And so I believe the real value to showing you this is going to be later on when I compare this to the quote-unquote original Waite Smith deck, and then the original that is produced by AGM. The original that I believe is not by US Games has a US Games copyright 1971 on each of the cards. So I do believe that although that particular original version has the lilies and roses on the back of the cards, the images are actually one that is from US Games, which I have never been a fan of. I'm a fan of their Centennial, but that's it. And so my go-to images to check the glugginess, the level of glugginess, is this death here, and it's just a lot clearer. It's just so much easier on the eyes. It feels like my eyes can finally breathe. It feels like when you've been breathing in an environment of, of a polluted air, and then suddenly you can breathe fresh air. This is how it feels like visually to me. So that's the box there. So the German one has Terror von A.E. Waite. This one is Terror of A.E. Waite, which I quite like because they're returning it to the person who creates the deck. That is not to say Pamela Coleman-Smith and Mr. Ryder have no part to play in the birth of this iconic deck, but the architect is definitely A.E. Waite, no matter what we think of him. And the Thoth is, you know, the creator is Crowley, Aleister Crowley, no matter what we think of him. So Death, and the other one, of course, is the King of Pentacles, because he's the gluggiest figure of all. So it just feels so soothing to the eyes. And so it'll be interesting to compare this with the other two decks and see that in relation to the other two decks, whether this is still as soothing and as breathable visually. So you could it just feel like you can breathe. I'm still not a big fan of Pamela Coleman-Smith's art, but let's go straight to, well, as you can see, the title there isn't Pixie's handwriting, isn't Pixie's calligraphy, or, you know, isn't her hands, isn't her handwriting, which is a pity. But for the images, it's just, as I said, I feel like my eyes finally able to breathe, and that's worth more than anything if I have to choose, really, because I mean the nature of this tool is physical, but they're mainly visual, aren't they? You can actually see the lilies and roses there, look. I've never seen that before. This is the one, King of Pentacles, who's usually very, very gluggy, and I suppose with all the black and all the grapes there, I suppose symbol of earthly pleasures, I'm not sure. But you can see their flowers here, the grapes there. I can actually see his expression here, especially the mouth. It's very expressive, which I don't often think of Pixie's art that way. That's very, very expressive there. That's it, but I'm really quite fascinated by the ace of, let me have a look. I think it was the one with the lilies in the garden. That was just amazing. I've never seen that before. No, not that one. I think it was was it the pentacle or I think it might be the pentacle. Yeah. The garden there. So that's the back. That's the, I believe that's the first edition after the Lilies and Roses back, which apparently was only out in the market for a few months before it was replaced by this one. So I really like it, and I highly recommend this, but let me give you the comparison between this and the vintage 93 AGM, as well as the original Waite Smith that is the most well known, the one with the gluggy lines. It is unfortunate with the current shenanigans with the legal stuff with US Games trying to, or for lack of a better term, trying to block this from being marketed in certain part of the world. I'm not quite sure. I'll link again Lisa's video below. So I'll talk to you later in the comparison video, hopefully, and I'll do a flip through of this one as well in a separate video.